Hey guys, welcome to Indic Diaries. Today we are honored to host Professor Dipankar Sengupta, a distinguished economist and a respected voice on public policy and regional development. With deep expertise in political economy and a keen understanding of India's evolving dynamics, he brings a unique perspective to some of the most pressing issues of our time. In this episode, we'll explore the current political landscape in India and its implication for our future. Stay tuned for a thought provoking conversation with one of the sharpest minds in the field. Yeah, so sir, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure entirely.
Yeah. So, sir, the first question that I wanted to ask was, how did you look at the Lok Sabha elections that happened 6 months ago? And I'll tell you why I'm asking it 6 months later, because there are still divided views on it. Some people say that it was still a BJP thumping victory. You know, it's still miles away from the Congress party, and 240 is still the biggest, largest party. And others say that, oh, you were 100 seats short of what you were expected to do. Modi's popularity has come down, and it's a downhill. The peak has been reached. So how do you see it 6 months down the line, given that Haryana and Maharashtra elections have also taken place?
Okay. So let me put this. I was taken aback by the outcome of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections because I also expected the BJP to do far better than it actually did. Yes, reports of a lower voting percentage in UP gave me warning signals, but then you had exit polls telling you something. And possibly the most extensive and scientific exit poll, which my opinion is Pradeep Gupta's exit poll, in a sense telling you what would give you the impression that the NDA and the BJP was going towards a thumping victory. As things happened, it is now clear that in many states, the opposition parties were able to deflect the election from being Modi versus Rahul Gandhi, no doubts about the outcome of that fight, into something that was local. And they got dividends for it. For example, in Rajasthan, they got massive dividends for this. Haryana, they got dividends for this. Uttar Pradesh, local issues, did dominate, and they got dividends for this. So in many places, they were able to change the narrative. The other thing is also foolish comments like the BJP president saying we don't need the RSS, etc. You do need the RSS. Let us face it. You are fighting a battle. You need the help of everybody who's aligned to your part of your kind of thinking. That's there. And secondly, in their hubris, they probably forgot to tackle some narratives. Like, if they get two-thirds majority, they're going to change the constitution and do away with reservations. It did seem to resonate in many places. And as a result of which, I think the BJP got far less seats than they would have. In Bengal, it was slightly different. In West Bengal, I think local organizational deficiencies, lack of local leadership, led them to get, I think, at least 12 to 14 seats less. Bad choice of candidates did play their role, but organizational deficiencies in West Bengal, I think, played a major role in them not doing as well as they should have. But if you look at vote share, 37% vote share as before last time is not bad. It does give the impression that a peaking has been reached. But I think what Maharashtra has shown, Haryana is a story by itself. What Maharashtra has shown is that I think there is the peaking has possibly not reached. You never know. If you are complacent, if you are given to hubris, bad things will happen. If you are on your toes all the time, and you spruce up the organization, get in all your well-wishers and supporters to come with you, good things can happen. I think post Ram Mandir, a lot of people in the BJP organization thought, we've arrived. We can do whatever that needs to be done, and majorities will come on their way. Haryana and Maharashtra have shown them the importance of getting all fellow travelers along, all narrative builders along, and the consequences are there for everybody to see.
Sir, do you see the realignment between the BJP and the RSS happening again after the Lok Sabha elections?
I think there was never a lack of realignment. It is,
Okay.
you see, sometimes you have to also ask a senior organization, help us. Sometimes you, अरे यार जरूरत नहीं है, we'll manage it on our own. You know, when you develop that kind of hubris, for example, in many places where the BJP is strong, voters went and they found that in the BJP booth there was practically nobody there helping them with the voter slips.
Okay.
For an organized party like the BJP to suffer from this lacune is a severe problem. In West Bengal, in many polling booths, there were no election agents.
Okay.
Okay, that is a serious, serious problem. There are also local problems. Choice of candidates were bad, and they paid the consequence of this.
So, no, so sir, do you think that extending on that, the 400 par was also a mistake?
No, I don't think the 400 par was a mistake. You have to basically be maximalist when you're campaigning.
Okay.
You know, the slogan was not a mistake. The complacency, the organizational loosening, the arrogance, choice of candidates, all this
Mhm.
combined to ensure that far from 400 par, you didn't get 283, which you had got in 2014
Exactly. With a lower voting percentage. Yeah.
with a lower voting percentage. Yes.
Yeah. And sir, since now that has happened and now we all the cards are on the table. So I come from a generation that has just, seen a stable majority government because I'm like 25 and I've only seen Modi's rise.
Okay.
So I'm very concerned about, because I hear it. I have not been through it, but I hear that, a coalition government inherently corrupt, unstable, can fall anytime. And now we are in an era where we have a coalition government. So, first of all, how concerned are you about that aspect, knowing that you might have lived through a lot of coalition governments? And how do you look at the pace of reforms in the country going forward? Are they going to slow down? Are they not? Like, it's fine.
Okay. I think the first successful coalition government was led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee for 5 years. Okay. He managed the coalition very well, and we had reforms. That government was a reformist government. And the growth that you saw from 2004 to 2013 was built on the foundations laid by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The Golden Quadrilateral Project, the NHAI today, is basically a Vajpayee initiative who pushed it through. And whatever Vajpayee did, Vajpayee obeyed fiscal discipline. The subsequent years, you also had coalition governments, but they didn't basically have coalition fiscal discipline. The banks were in a mess 10 years on. The economy was in a mess 10 years on. That, in an election year, you are not able to give any sort of concessions, which people generally expect in an election year because the government of the day was so bankrupt. Okay. Now, BJP can
Yeah.
manage coalitions, number one. Number two, if you look at the major coalition partners, TDP and the JDU, JDU broke with Lalu Prasad Yadav because JDU, in contrast to Lalu's RJD, was progressive. It wanted progress for Bihar. It wanted to get out of this caste politics, the criminalization of Bihari politics, the corruption, and it wanted to push Bihar forward. That is why Nitish broke with Lalu. And when it comes to the TDP, say what you will about Chandrababu Naidu, the transformation of Hyderabad into an IT hub is Chandrababu Naidu's doing. So the reformist agenda, the development agenda is very strong with these two coalition partners. Okay. And Modi is all about development and coalition and reforms. So I think it's a perfect match. You won't find compulsions of politics will ask you for largesse. They'll say, shift some projects to my state, etc. In an overall framework where infrastructure is key, you can always work your infrastructure around to favor these particular states without seeing to a worsening of your budget figures. It is possible. They won't ask for freebies, they will ask for infrastructure. And I don't think the government of the day will have any problems in ensuring that they get roads, airports, railways, etc. at all.
Yeah. Sir, I just wanted to take you back. the first, you said that the Atal, with the NDA, like Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but the first coalition I would assume would be Narasimha Rao.
Okay, Narasimha Rao was not a coalition government in the sense that it was a minority government
Yes.
supported by the leftists. Okay,
Yes.
it was not a coalition government.
Okay.
And of course, he was able to cobble together a majority after 2 to 3 years. Then he became, he just threw the leftists away. That's all.
Okay.
Subsequently, you had the United Front government that lasted for 2 years. It
Yes.
was a coalition government in a minority. Okay, it
Yes.
lasted for 2 years. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, after the elections in 99, when Jayalalitha withdrew support, from 99 to 2004, he led a fairly successful coalition government. Okay. And if you look at the government finances in those particular years, that government was not known for throwing money left, right, and center to curry support. I wish it had a bit, and manage elections a bit. They would have come back to power, and the years lost from 2004 to 2014 is not the year of darkness that we would have seen. We would have seen growth with fiscal discipline.
Okay.
That we didn't get to see it. We got to see our banks practically go under. That is the consequence of the NDA not coming back to power in 2004.
Okay. So, sir, it would be safe to assume that you would expect this government to last till 2029.
Absolutely. Nobody in this particular government has any incentive to withdraw support.
Okay.
Okay. Especially after the results in Maharashtra and Haryana. Okay. So, right now, everybody has it good. You have a government of yours in the center, BJP as well as in Andhra Pradesh. The two major coalition partners have their own governments. They have a friendly government at the center. Why rock this boat? No point at all.
And going to an opposition where you might not have that amount of leverage.
You see, the problems are following. Modi may drive a hard bargain, but a person who runs a government well is any day better than a coalition where all your demands are given, but the fact is you are so inefficient that although I've agreed to your demands, I can give them to you. Okay. So that is a serious problem. And look, down the line, I expect to see a lot of the Shiv Sena's MPs who are with the UBT gang to cross over and join the government also. So that's going to happen. Just see. That's going to happen. You may see NCP also, the MPs, actually telling Sharad Pawar, thank you very much, it was nice knowing you, and, joining the government of the day. You never know what's going to happen. I think the majority of the government will probably increase over time. They may choose to call an elections early, but why, I don't know. As of now, this government is doing whatever it wanted to do. And if you look at the actions of this government, vis-a-vis how it behaved for the last 10 years, who would know that this is a minority government? Okay. It seems like a majority government.
Yeah, but sir, talk about numbers in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. That has gone down. So passing, let's say,
Rajya Sabha,
UCC.
look, okay, no. The UCC, look, at the end of the day, to pass UCC, it's not just brute majority, it's also creating a consensus.
Okay.
Okay. Article 370, reorganization in Jammu and Kashmir, could not have happened unless you had built sufficient support both in the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha. Two-thirds majority in the Rajya Sabha is something that the NDA never had. But to reorganize Jammu and Kashmir, they got two-thirds majority. Now, how did they get it? Unless they got other opposition on board, including the Aam Aadmi Party.
Yes.
Okay. So, it's not just numbers, it's also building consensus. And I think that can be done. The Congress Trinamool may prove recalcitrant on a number of issues, but the other opposition parties, in a sense, are amenable, I think, to reason, and where they think that their interests are not being harmed and the national interest, in a sense, is being served, I think they will vote with the government.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So, sir, now that you have mentioned Jammu and Kashmir, I just wanted to shift there. Elections have also happened in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, they have.
And so the question is that was that a loss for the BJP or a victory for the BJP? And given that the Congress was, it was definitely a loss for the Congress party.
Right, right.
But how do you look at the politics of Jammu and Kashmir playing along? And secondly, when do you see the statehood being restored, if ever?
Okay. Now, you see, the National Conference has won a majority on its own.
Yes.
I think nobody expected the BJP to get a majority, but a lot of BJPites had hoped that the Valley vote would be split in such a manner that the NC would get about 30 odd seats with 15 independents and the BJP dominating Jammu. The BJP would be able to cobble government. But you see, during the elections, I was in Srinagar and
Okay.
I saw only the National Conference. Now, Srinagar, of course, polling was low. It went National Conference. Uh, I asked people from the Baramulla place, the Baramulla area, the Lok Sabha, which had voted for Engineer Rashid. That
Yes.
was NC's, in a sense, spot of insecurity. And people told me out there, look, I mean, this premature release of Rashid shows that he was put up by the government, to split NC votes. We are not going to fall for that any longer. We will basically support the National Conference. So I expected the National Conference to get about 30 to 35 seats overall. The Congress to get 10 to 13 seats, 48 they would get. To my surprise, I found that the Congress was just not interested in contesting at all, at least where Jammu is concerned. They were absent. And was remarked, this is something that BJP workers remarked. That the Congress does not seem to be interested in contesting at all.
Okay.
And although the Congress got zilch in Jammu, they got some seats in Kashmir because the National Conference were kind enough to give them those particular seats. The National Conference did so well that the National Conference has formed the government. Okay, so BJP has been disappointed. But if you compare to the results of the Lok Sabha elections, where the BJP won the two seats, Udhampur and Jammu, but their margins were much reduced.
Mhm.
And there were fears that margins were something like 3.5 lakhs for both seats in 2019. They came down to 1.25 lakhs in 2024. So people thought that the Congress was an upsurge, and the Congress was not able to do anything at all. So the BJP recouped, but it was disappointed.
Okay.
The National Conference, on the other hand, has reasons to be happy, and it's come to power. So far, not much has happened to rock the boat between the elected government and the lieutenant governor, the center's representative. As for statehood, I think it's some time off. It's some time off. Okay.
Okay.
Security concerns are there. The security grid is working fine. The internal disturbances that you used to see, the intifada kind of things, that one thing
Yes.
happens and it used to go on for months, those are a thing of the past. And as long as law and order is in the hands of the center, that's likely to be a thing of the past. You have the odd security, the terrorist coming in from Pakistan who's willing to kill and die. So, once he comes in, and it's a big border and a big line of control, and in many areas, the jungles are so thick, you don't know where your territory ends and where the other territory begins.
Yep.
Under those circumstances, very difficult. In fact, it's impossible to get people from, prevent people from coming over. So you'll see these terrorist incidents. But law and order, I think, is in control and it's in perfectly fine shape. I would not recommend the passage of statehood immediately. I would say let us wait a while.
So, sir, it's interesting. So clearly, the numbers suggest that the insurgency has ended. There are not terrorist activities, and that
Hmm.
happens. But insurgency has ended.
I would see what happened in Jammu and Kashmir. Insurgency ended long ago. The civil disturbances, you see, it was Tufail Mattu in 2010-11. Those disturbances went on and on and on for months. The entire valley was in a bandh.
Okay.
Then when this Burhan Wani was killed, for several years, the disturbance went on and on and on. And that was because local politicians, especially the ruling ones, had no incentive in stopping this. They used these disturbances to try to blackmail Delhi into giving more powers, more finances, etc. Unfortunately, they bargained too hard with the wrong persons, set of persons, who ended the special status and extended the constitution of Jammu Kashmir to India to Jammu and Kashmir and reorganized the state. So I think that message has gone across that you don't blackmail any longer. Blackmail
Okay.
doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take the final question about Indian politics. Then I had a question about Syria as well.
Sure.
But yeah, so sir, the argument here was that Maharashtra and Haryana. So the argument was that Modi has taken a backseat, and because of the Lok Sabha elections and the, let's say, the credit for the both the elections goes to, let's say, Devendra Fadnavis, or let's say the local politicians out there.
BJP would say all the better. For example, for everybody said that, this is a one-man show, Modi all the way. But if leaders are now able to handle campaigns and win them on their own, this is a fantastic thing for a political party. That, the Congress in the 80s, for anything, called Mrs. Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi.
Yes.
It was increasing. People were saying in the last 10 years, for every municipal election, you are calling Modi. Now, if your chief ministerial candidate, your local candidate, is your main star attraction, what more can a political party ask for?
Hmm.
So, if this is true, BJP has all the reason to celebrate.
But so then, do you think that it's a possibility that Modi doesn't contest 2029?
Look, he will be over 75.
Yes.
Will he be physically fit? And I remember a interview by Pranab Mukherjee when he chose to become, when he accepted this offer of becoming president. He said, and he was already 75 when he contested the 2009 Lok Sabha elections, or 2004 is pretty old.
Hmm.
And when he was contesting the 2009, Lok Sabha elections from Jongipur, he suddenly realized, he's a pretty fit man, suddenly realized that he can't do this any longer. And he told his friends, this is my last Lok Sabha elections. I won't be able to do this any longer.
Okay.
Okay. So you never know when a fit man suddenly decides, boss, I've gone on too long. This is not my cup of tea anymore. Or this is the right time to start grooming other people to take up this particular job.
Okay.
That's 5 years from today. I think you may see succession plans towards the end of this particular term, but that has nothing to do with what has happened in Maharashtra or Haryana.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and sir, yeah, finally about Syria. So this is not about India, but it's very confusing what is happening in Syria, right? Because there are a lot of memes, right? Because it's like the US Pentagon versus the US CIA and stuff like that. And let's say the figure supporting Assad
Hmm.
and the figure supporting rebels necessarily are like, why would the US support Syrian rebels when the Syrian rebels have links to Al Qaeda? Why
Okay.
would Putin and Iran support Assad? It just makes no sense, right? To me, at
Look,
least.
look. When it comes to the United States, Al Qaeda, United States, ISIS, etc., the role of the United States in ensuring that these formations actually rise is clear for all to see. Why did ISIS rise? Because you created conditions in Iran so that this particular group could take over, and you didn't bother because anything that was anti-Saddam was okay with you.
Okay.
So you chose to do nothing, and they kept on rising. Still, you chose to do nothing. One day they can become a Frankenstein. Because they threatened your puppet regime in Iraq, you decided that something has to be done about it. But then, the moment one faction or the other basically breaks away and tells you, okay, you are the big daddy, I'll basically do what you want to say, that whitewashing takes place. So there's always been good Taliban, bad Taliban. Okay, as long as my interests are not hurt, you are good. The moment you start hurting my interests, you are bad.
Okay.
The Taliban's basically figured that out, and now they're behaving themselves vis-a-vis the United States. So the makeover of this gentleman Julani, okay,
Yes.
there was this interview when he was asked about his role in killing people when he was in ISIS. So what does he say? I was a young fellow then, but that was a learning experience. I'm a different person now, etc. So, so he's gotten hammered
Okay.
by the Americans, by the Kurds, etc. So he knows that there are certain things he can do and certain things he cannot do. Look, realism also creeps in after some time. You start figure out that I'm being an idiot following Baghdadi. At the end of the day, I do not belong to Iraq. I belong to Syria. And in any case, he was basically appointed the ISIS vice regent for Syria. So goes into Syria, breaks with the ISIS, and receives arms and armaments from the Saudis, Turks, and Americans to do
Yes.
their bidding, try to topple Assad. Initially, because of a very strong muscular Russian response, Iranian response, he was not able to do so. Now the Russians are stuck in Ukraine. So their ability to intervene in Syria was compromised. So what happens? They've advised Assad, look, it's no longer possible for us to basically protect you. So start planning for an exit. So Assad appoints a prime minister in July. And now we are told, Julani tells us that he has been with negotiations with us for the last 2 months or so. So Assad obviously knew his intelligence service is very good. So he
Okay.
was basically brought in to negotiate with everybody else. And
Okay.
then what happens is he lives with his loot. He's basically given asylum in Moscow. His family had left long ago, and there's been a general takeover without much violence. Okay. Now
Okay.
remember, it is a fallacy to say that the Nusra or HTS has taken over Syria. No.
Okay.
South Syria is and the supporters of the Druzes. Okay. They have
Okay.
nothing to do with the HTS, the Nusra. They have fought on occasions. Go to the north. In the north, you have the Kurds building an coalition with the Yazidis, etc. They are maintaining their own area of influence out there. They have fought with the ATS. So there are several factions which are controlling several parts of Syria. Okay.
Mhm.
No faction is powerful enough to take over all of the other factions. Most of the factions don't want to. They are pretty well armed and should suppose the Al-Nusrites try to go south, try to go towards Israel. The Israel will back the Druzes and the others to push them out. Okay.
Okay.
If they try to do something against the Kurds, Iraqi Kurds, etc., will come in and help them. So at this point in time, hopefully, we are looking at, if not stability, but a manageable instability.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Nobody is trying to rock the cradle. The Kurds in the north have not shown any inclination for a separate state. They've said, look, Syria is actually a polyethnic state, you know, and we want to be part of this federal state, a state where that should be federal. The only problem is Assad. So the common enemy for everybody is Assad. Assad has left. Now it is up to the people who are now in control of Damascus, that is Julani, as to what they do. So Julani has made two statements. First, he says, "Look, I want to set up an Islamic state, but I have to, consult with all the stakeholders."
Okay.
But he's also told the Alawites that if you want to live in peace, you have to give up those practices that are antithetical to Islam. So the jihadi, you can take the jihad out of the jihadi, but you can't take the jihadi out of the this person. So this is particular, there's a problem out here. So
Okay.
let us see what happens. But what happened had the consent of the Russians, because the Russians advised Assad, it's over now, leave. The Russians retain their air base and their naval base. Okay.
Okay.
The Americans were in on it for a long period of time. Okay. The Saudis, Turks are all happy. The only ones who are unhappy are the Iranians, who have lost a proxy and their transit route to Lebanon and to Hezbollah. There's not much left of Hezbollah anyway. And to Gaza, there's not much left of Gaza anyway. That's gone. So they are the only losers in this overall scheme of things.
But so the question is that why now? Like, is there a Trump factor in it that they were scared that Trump will come in and do something, shake things up? So do it before.
Look, the fact is, why not now? It is a time when the Russians are caught up, bogged down in Ukraine. Okay. So the kind of attention they could have given to Assad, that's gone. There is no Hezbollah now, worth speaking. The
Yep.
top leadership has been decapitated, blown up, with
Yep.
pages going off, what have you, etc., etc. So it is a time where Iranian proxies cannot support Assad. It is a time where the Russians cannot come in and help Assad. Assad's men are tired. The army is tired. So if you basically arrive at a deal where security is assured, okay, then the Syrian army will say, okay, chalo, we can work with this. Okay, we may not like the Nusrites, but we still have our arms and ammunitions. If they try something funny, we will also try something funny. So on the ground at this point, it seems to be working. Look, what has Trump also did some raids against Assad. Trump, what Trump has said is the following: no, this is the fruition of getting involved in business that is not ours. And Trump has said, I'm going to stay out of this. Okay. Whether he stays out of this or not is another matter. Once in, it's difficult to stay out.
Yep.
But the thing is, I think for the Democrats, this was a perfect opportunity to show that, look, we've done something, so we aren't complete failures where foreign policy is concerned.
So yeah, so let's hope that this brings some stability to the Middle East. But yeah,
Unlikely, but then you live in
just
hope.
say that this was a you just said that this could be a stable.
Manageable instability. I
Perfect.
doubt. I doubt.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you, sir, so much for having this conversation. It was really insightful, and yeah, I hope to get you back on the show. And I'll let you know when I upload this. It would be great if you could share it as well.
Okay, I'll do that. Chalo. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.